Hello, my girls, and welcome back to the class. How are you?
Good, Miss. Hi.
Okay, welcome back. And right now we have the second part of our lesson of today, and we are going to have right now reading. Today, our lesson is about chimpanzees and about the environment of the chimpanzees and some information about these magnificent animals. And while we are going to read this one, I want you to focus on the information because maybe it's the first time you hear this information and it's very educative. Okay, as we learned before, each story we have to extract genre, author, and a question of the week. Okay? So I want
Yeah.
you right now to go to your books, reading books, and open the page,
56.
open the page 56. This is the page 56. So from this page, who can tell me what doesn't what is the genre of this story? Hmm.
Exploratory text.
Expository text. Excellent. So the first thing we have is the story is expository text. What does it mean expository text? Who can tell me? Huh?
How you say it? The nature, or you explain the nature of the
So
places.
is it a
And
story that I make from my imagination
no,
or is it a real
it's a
information?
No, real information.
It's
Uh-huh.
based in a real. It's based in
Bismillah.
real information.
Uh-huh.
It's based in real information.
Yeah, so the information in the expository text usually they are information that we extracted from our own life and they are real events and real information. Usually we put it for the information that we want to talk about it in nature, animals, cultures, maybe also politics. So anything that have expository that we want to explain, we will use this type of or this genre of writing, which is expository text. طيب, who's the author of the story? Hmm,
Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall. And the question of the week.
Why is it important to study animal responsibly?
Important to study animals. Okay, before we have this question, let's go ahead and meet the author of today. The author of today is really interesting person. Why? Because this person is the person who wrote the book of our story of today, which is the Chimpanzees I Love. This is a book, by the way. The
Yeah,
chimpanzees.
Miss, her picture in page 71.
Yes, her pictures. The pictures are in here are real pictures, and this the pictures that you can see in the first page, which is 56, is a real picture of that woman. Wait, let's go ahead and meet that author and understand who is this lady and why she is studying chimpanzees and why she's interested about it. Okay, can you see this presentation?
Yeah.
That's good. Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall is known worldwide for studying chimpanzees. As a child, she became interested in how animals behaved. She left school at age 18 and eventually traveled to Africa, where in 1960 she started a camp in the Gombe Stream Gap Game Reserve. From there, she could carefully research the chimpanzees that lived in the region. Goodall and her family lived in Gambia until 1975. Over the years, Goodall discovered many surprising facts about the chimpanzees. For example, she learned that chimpanzees are omnivorous. This means that they cat both plants and animals. Before her discovery, most scientists believed that chimpanzees were vegetarians or plant eaters. They eat. This one is eat. I'm sorry, I didn't read it very well. I didn't see it. Goodall also discovered that chimpanzees are capable of making and using their own tools, using twigs and the like. Goodall wrote several fascinating books about her research with chimpanzees. In 1971, she told about her first years in Gambia. in the book In the Shadows of Man. Later, in 1986, she wrote all she had learned about chimpanzees' behavior in the book of the Chimpanzees of Gambia. Okay, so this lady right here, she is really interested in the chimpanzees because since a young age she was interested in animals in general. And then what happened to her that when she finished the high school, she graduated from the high school, she left the school and then she didn't complete the college or the university. No, she went to Africa with her family. So this is what helped her to be more interested in the animals. When she went to Africa, she was engaging with the animals and seeing different kind of animals. But what interested her, the chimpanzees, because in America and in Europe, they don't have these animals in their country. So when she came here, she was fascinated by these animals, and she found those animals are a little bit like human in their faces and their hands, subhanallah. So she said, I want to study these chimpanzees more and more. And she spent more time in that area, in that place. And the more she spent time in there, and the more that she studied these animals, the more she fell in love with these animals until she made a lot of researches about these animals. Even she got the doctor degree uh, in animals and in studying animals' behavior. Let's go and have more information also to understand what inspired her to write this book, for example, or to write even books like this, My Life with Chimpanzees or The Chimpanzees I Love. Why she wrote all of these books. Her real name is, the full name of her is Valerie Jane Morris Goodall. She loved animals of all kinds when she was a child in London, England. Luckily, Dr. Goodall said, I had a wonderful mother who encouraged my interests. She told me that if I worked hard, took advantages of the opportunities, and never gave up, I would find a way. After visiting Tanzania and then returning to college for her degree, Dr. Goodall established the Gumby Stream Research Center in Tanzania, where her groundbreaking research, including the discovery that chimpanzees, like humans, can make and use tools. She later founded the Jane Goodall Institute, a global leader in the effort to protect chimpanzees and their habitats. Today, through her lectures and books, Dr. Goodall is known around the world for her scientific research with chimpanzees and for her efforts to preserve the environment. Now, this lady is fantastic in many ways. She left the school, yes, and she went to Africa. She didn't complete her degree at that time. She went to Africa to study the chimpanzees. But then, after some years, she went back to Britain. Okay? When she went back to Britain, she said, I want to complete my study and to study in the university about animals and about how to study their behavior. So she completed her study until she got the doctor degree. You see? يعني she didn't only took 4 years of college. No, she spent like 8 years in college studying more about animals, their behavior, their language, their eating behaviors, their eating their eating ways and how they are behaving with each other until she had all the information she got, and then she went back to Africa. When she went back to Africa, she started what to make a place in there. She called it what research place. She made it in Africa for the chimpanzees, Gambia Stream Research Center. She made it in Gambia, and then she went back to make what another institute. She called it Jane Goodall Institute, and she made that institute for what institute is like a small school to teach people about chimpanzees and about their behaviors, their way of living, and how they're eating, and how it's really important to care about these animals because they are like human and they are important to to the nature. Okay, so after that, she was inspired not only to make books, but even an institute and also a research center. So this woman, she got all the knowledge that she needed from her
Sometimes she do
studies,
a
and
books
she give
for
it back.
animals.
She give it back to people so people can know her knowledge and her studies. What's Yawatin?
And she writes books.
Yes, she wrote books, many
Okay,
books
about animals.
about chimpanzees specifically.
Yeah. Okay, so we can buy it or no?
Yes, yes, you can buy it. Just bring the
Really?
name of the writer. Yes, go to Jarir, you will find it. If you don't find it in Jarir, write it in Amazon, you will find it online.
Amazon. Okay.
Yes, Jarir or Amazon. So
Okay.
her name is Jane Goodall, and write the names of the books right that you have right here. My Life with Chimpanzees or The Chimpanzees I Love. All of these are books for her. Okay, so these are some of the pictures. This is when she was young with the chimpanzees, and this is how he's eating beside her and she's playing with his hair. This is how when she was a young woman, and then this is when she grew up to be an old lady but is still loving these animals. Actually, two of the scientists that are very famous with the loving of the chimpanzees is this one, Jane Goodall, and there's another name. Her name also, there's another scientist, she's a woman also. Her name is Diane Fossey.
But
Diane,
the monkeys are weird. Like how his face is small and his ears is so big.
we will see some pictures now through the reading also. You have these two writers and scientists that they are very interested in chimpanzees, Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall. Today we are going to have a story from Jane Goodall, and let's see the information that makes her very interesting in the chimpanzees. Let's go for the page 56. And before that, my girls, let's see this video about the story of today and what the things we supposed to focus on.
Why is it important to study animals responsibly? Watching animals in captivity, like in zoos and aquariums, can be an incredible experience. It's great to watch the animals play and interact. But zoos in particular are more than places to see animals on display. Today, zoos are full of conservationists and people working to help animals. Most zoos work with endangered animals that may need human help to increase their numbers. Zoos can be great laboratories where animal specialists can observe animal behavior, analyzing everything from how they play to how they socialize. They have to study the diets of animals to find out what kind of foods help the animals thrive and what they actually enjoy eating. If the animals are herbivores, they get only plants. The carnivores get meat, and omnivores will eat both meat and plants. The best zoos make innovations in the care of all captive animals. They help other zoos increase numbers of endangered animals and allow the animals to live lives that are not only safe and healthy, but also happy. Why do you think it is important to study animals responsibly?
So now, depending on this video and from your background information, why do you think it's really important to study animals? Why don't we just leave them alone? Why do we have to study about them?
Because animals, we have to, animals
Hmm.
need also
Because
help.
like in the future, if you become like a man or a girl who responds to animals, you know how to like feed them. You know how to like live with them.
Excellent, because when we, of course, our life is varied, and we can't live alone in this universe, right? We have to live with plants, animals. So the more we understand about these kind of animals, we can maybe take care of them. Maybe if we one time have them as a pet, we can take care of them. We can feed them very good. For example, if we know that some type of animals they eat meat and they can hurt people, we wouldn't keep them in our captivity, right? We would be
Yeah.
like very careful to deal with these animals. Also, when we understand more about the animals and the information about it, how they live, how they interact, how they eat, we can also help to protect them from extincting, because a lot of animals during these years, the last years, they extinct. It means that they are not living anymore, they died. They died with big numbers. If we understand the animals and more information about it, we can prevent their death from being this big and in this horrible number. So we can protect these animals to make them also breed again and have birth again for more children so they can have more numbers. And remember that no animal that God created or no plant in this earth God created without a reason. So every one of these animals have his role and have his reason to exist, even if we don't understand why, but he has his reason to exist. So it's very important to keep him alive and to take care of him and to protect him from being extinct. Let's go ahead right now to the book and to the page 57. Flip the page for 58. I will let this read a little bit and then your turn to read after her.
The mind of the chimpanzee. Animals are much smarter than scientists used to think. I was told at school 50 years ago that only human beings have personalities, can think and reason, feel pain, or have emotions. Luckily, as a child, I had spent hours learning about animal behavior from my dog Rusty, so I knew none of that was true. The more we have learned about chimpanzees, the clearer it is that they have brains very like ours and can, in fact, do many things that we used to think only humans could do. I've described how the Gombe chimps use grass stems and twigs to fish termites from their nests. The chimps also use long, smooth sticks to catch vicious, biting army ants. They use crumpled leaves to soak up water from hollows in trees that they cannot reach with their lips, then suck the homemade sponge. They wipe dirt from their bodies with leaf napkins. They use stout sticks to open up holes in trees to get at birds' nests or honey, and as clubs to intimidate one another or other animals. They pick up and throw rocks as missiles. In other parts
So if you hear these informations here about these things,
Yeah.
would you think in a minute that those actually are animals? Huh?
No.
No, because what they're doing, they're acting like a human. What they're doing
Yeah,
is
and
that if they
because
want to drink, they will use the leaves of the trees to bring some water from the river and then drink it. If they want to clean their body, they will bring some leaves from the trees, put it in the water, and then try to rub their bodies with that leaves. And then, for example, if they want to eat, they will just try to share the food together and to cut it into halves and to give each
yeah,
other. So these animals,
yeah, and when
they are
she
not
read,
acting like animals. They are mostly as a human. And that's why when she studied these animals, she realized that those animals are really not only there so we can watch them, we can learn from them and we can say in each time that subhanallah, and we can care for them because they feel pain, they understand, they have their own feelings. A lot of
yeah,
people say that they don't have feelings, they're just animals, they don't have a brain. Yes, they are. They have their
no,
own feelings, and if you don't care about them, they will die of sadness. Like, do you remember the dog Hachiko from the first semester?
yeah,
He was staying
yeah,
there for more than 15 years, waiting for his friend to come back from his work, although his friend died. So how these animals don't have feelings? Of course they have feelings. So this woman, she dedicated her life just to tell people that those animals matter and they really have their own personalities, their own feelings, as you can see in this picture. This is a woman, chimpanzee woman, that is holding her baby. You see? And you see her eyes? He's like real people. Subhanallah.
yeah,
So let's complete.
of Africa, chimps have different tool-using behaviors. For instance, in West Africa and parts of Central Africa, they use two stones, a hammer, and an anvil to crack open nuts. It seems that infant chimps learn these behaviors by watching the adults and then imitating and practicing what they have seen. So the chimps have their own primitive culture. Many scientists are finding out more about the chimpanzee mind from tests in captive situations. For example, chimps will go and find sticks to pull in food that has been placed outside the cage beyond their reach. They can join two short sticks together to make one long tool. They have excellent memories. After 11 years' separation, a female named Washu recognized the two humans who had brought her up. A chimp can plan what he or she is going to do. Often I've watched a chimp wake up, scratch.
You see, she wrote this one also. How many times I have wished that I could look out into the world through the eyes with the mind of a chimpanzee. One such minute would be worth a lifetime of research. She cut this picture and she wrote these words beneath the picture. She's saying that in this picture right here, as you can see, the emotion and the compassionate between the mother and the child. And she said that if I want only to say something for this picture is I wish only to see the world from the eyes of a chimpanzee. And from that, if I could do that, then it will be worth it for a lifetime of research. Instead of all the research that I do, I just want to take their eyes and to feel what they feel and to see what they see. She loved them so much. Okay, let's go ahead right now and try to read from this part. Okay, let's go, Watin. Himself slowly gaze around.
Himself slowly gaze around in different direction, then suddenly get up, walk over to a clump of grass, carefully select stem, trim it, and then travel quite a long way to a trimmed mound that was out of sight when he made his tool. Chimpanzee can be taught to do many of the things that we do, such as riding bicycles and swimming. Some love to draw or paint. Chimps can also recognize themselves in mirrors, but they cannot learn to speak words because their vocal cords are different. Two scientists, the Hayes, brought up a little chimp named Vicky and tried to teach her to talk. After 8 years, she could only say 4 words, and only people who knew her could understand even those. The gardeners had another idea. They got, they got an infant chimpanzee named her Washoe and began teaching her American Sign Language (ASL) as used by deaf people.
By
Then
deaf
other
people. I used as used by deaf people.
as used by deaf people. Then other infant chimps were taught this language. Chimps can learn 300 signs or more. They can also invent signs. The chimp Lucy, wanting a Brazil nut but not knowing its name, used to sign she knew and asked for a berry. A fizzy soda became "Listen drink", a duck on a pond, water bird, and a piece of celery. Pipe food. Washoe adopted son learned 58 signs from Washoe and three other signing chimps by the time he was 8 years old. He was never taught these signs by humans. Other chimps have been taught computer language and can punch out quite complicated sentences. These experiments have taught us and continue to teach us more and more about the chimpanzee mind.
Excellent, Watin. Great, great, great reading. MashaAllah, no hesitation, and your reading flow is very nice and it's better than before. Every time you blow my mind even more and more. Thank you so much for your awesome reading. Okay, in this part, my girls, she's talking that the chimpanzees during the years they discovered that these chimpanzees not only acting like a human but they are actually making tools like a human. And they try, for example, if they want to reach something in other tree they can't reach it by their hand, they try to make a tool out of twigs and they link the twigs together and they make it like a stick and then go and to try to reach the other tree with that stick. So this is not
Yeah,
like behaving like animal. These like human and they
yeah, and there
understand what
was
they're doing.
times she said that they can paint.
They can what?
Paint.
They can paint also, and they can cut the things and
Yeah,
they can attach it together. So these are what acting like human.
like humans.
Excellent. And then some of the people they said, okay, if the chimpanzees are acting like a human, then why don't we try to make them do like a human thing? Because chimpanzee is the most clever animal between all the animals that we ever interacted with. The chimpanzee is the one that showed more like human things, more than other animals. يعني if you go to study lions or tigers or camels or horses, you will not find the behavior like the chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are the only animals who act actually like people. So the people said, some of the scientists said, why don't we try to make them act like a human by make them train on the things of a human? So they tried to put a bicycle for those chimpanzees and showed them how to ride it, and the chimpanzees learned. And after a while, all of these chimpanzees ride the bicycles. And then they try how they played also sewing, and they are also knew how to sew also like people. And then after that, some people said, okay, if we can teach these animals how to do all of these things, and they have some brain like a human, and they act like a human, then why don't we just try to teach them our language? So the the scientist right here, she said that the chimpanzees, they can't talk. Why? Because their vocal cords of their throat, the vocal cords that you have in our throat, is different from the vocal cords of the chimpanzees. That's why the chimpanzees, they can't talk. But if they talk, they will understand and they will talk to us. So one of the scientists, her name is gardeners. Those are a family, a man and a woman, and they are scientists. They said, we have an idea. Let's try to bring an infant chimpanzee, and a baby chimpanzee, and we will name her Washu, and try to what to teach her. Before that, they try to teach one of the chimpanzees, one of the family, their name is Hais. They bring what the Haises. They bring a chimpanzee. Her name is Vicky, and they tried to teach her our language. But the chimpanzee, she spent 8 years with them, but eventually she came up with only 4 or 6 words, or 4 words. And these words, nobody understand them except of the family that they raised, which means that the chimpanzees can't talk. So another
Miss, your
family
voice
she
is
came.
lagging.
What? What? Watin? I can't hear you. Again.
Hello, Miss.
Yes. Yes, I
Your
can hear you
voice is
now.
lagging.
Now is it
Yeah,
good?
your voice was lagging. Yeah.
Maybe it's from your side, because right now my internet connection is stable. Is it good right now?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, now the other family or the scientists who came, their name is the gardeners, and they said, we don't want to teach them our language, but we will teach them the American Sign Language. And they started with a chimpanzee, her name is Washu. They brought her when she was infant, and they tried to teach her the language of the sign language, which the people who use it are the deaf people. What happened is she actually know how to use that language, and every time she's asking for a food or she wants to play with them, she used that language, and she can make a sentence for that language. For example, if she wants a piece of celery, she will make the sign of what pipe food, which means celery. If she wants to a drink, for example, soda or something, she will what she will make the sign like listen drink, which means that I need water. Then every time she wants to say something for them, she will use the sign language, and she did it very well that she can actually make it as a sentence. And then also they made another experience on the chimpanzees, and they taught them how to use the computer language, which is typing. And actually, some of these chimpanzees, they know right now how to type on the keyboard and how to write a full sentence by typing on the keyboard. So what they lack right now is only to speak. If they speak, they will be like a human. Oh my God.
Imagine they are in the phone in WhatsApp and they are writing, "Hello, I am chimpanzee. What do you want?"
Yeah, and I'm like chatting with a chimpanzee. Imagine. Okay.
Can you give me a celery stick, please?
Malak, it's your turn. Yalla, try to read it from here. The first word, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, chimpanzees, so like us in many ways, are often very badly treated in many captive situations. Chimpanzees were first brought to Europe from Africa in the middle of the 17th country.
Century,
People,
century, century.
century. People were amazed by these human-like creatures. They dressed them up and taught them tricks. Since then, we have often treated in many captive
Treated
situations,
chimpanzees like a slave.
like slaves, shooting their mothers in Africa, shipping them around the world, uh, ca- 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 cagging,
Caging them in zoos. Caging.
caging them in zoos, training them to perform in movies and circuses and advertisements, selling them as pets, and
Imprisoning.
imp-
Imprisoning them.
imprisoning them imprisoning them in medical research laboratories. Some chimps become famous. Fred Muggs started on TV's Today Show for years and was known by millions of viewers. Uh, what they didn't know was that whenever J. Fred Muggs got too big and strong for the show, he was replaced by a younger one. A young male called Ham was sent up into space. He was shot up in a Mercury Redstone rocket in January 1961, and because he survived human astronauts, Ham was taught his routine by receiving an electric shock every time he pressed the wrong button, often circus chimps.
Excellent, excellent, excellent reading, Malak. Okay, in this part, this is the last part of this day. The chimpanzees actually, she's saying, because they act like a human. When the people bring it to Europe from Africa, the people in Europe, they were the first people to see this kind of animals in Europe, and nobody had them have them before in Europe. So it was very weird for them to have these kind of animals because they act like a human. So what they did, they used these chimpanzees in a bad way. They used them first as slaves. What they did, they went to Africa, they shot their mothers, and then they bring the babies and they brought them to Europe. This is the first thing. And then they put them inside cages inside the zoo for people to come to see them. And then they use these animals inside what? Inside the circuses also. If the chimpanzee can ride a bicycle, they bring him inside the circus for people to pay tickets and to pay money for that owner. And then they didn't stop at that. They used these animals in advertisement. Imagine, for example, they bring a chimpanzee to drink a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola and say, "Oh, even the chimpanzee like Coca-Cola. Buy Coca-Cola." So, so they use these animals in every unhuman way. And then after that, they use these animals even in laboratories, in researchers, instead of a human, and they use them also in TV shows. Imagine they made these animals as actors inside the movies and series. One of the movies that, or the series that was very famous, is the TV Today Show, and there was a very famous chimpanzee starring at that show. His name is J. Fred Muggs, and all the people know him in America and Britain at that time. But when he grew up to be a very old chimpanzee, they changed him and replaced him with a younger chimpanzee. And then some of the chimpanzees, even they send them in a rocket to the space. Why? Because they wanted to try sending the animals before people and see what will happen to these animals. And then when they found that it's safe, they try to send people after that to the space. So they use these animals as experience mice. Like they bring it and they try everything with those animals. Like, oh, they are like a human, then let's try this and this and this on them. And later on, we will see what happened with that Jane Goodall and what is her advices about these animals and how we can act with them in a human manner and how we can learn from them. Okay, my girls, do you have any question for this lesson?
No.
No.
And how do you feel about it? Is it fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
like I know information about monkey, I was stunned.
Yeah, and what you don't know also about these animals, by the way, that it's a very important thing that the chimpanzees actually eat vegetables and they also eat meat. So they are like a human in this also. They are both
Yeah.
vegetarian and also they can eat meat. So they can eat both of them. Okay, my girls, we will stop at here and next time, inshallah, we are going to complete on Wednesday. I will see you by then. Stay safe and be okay. Bye bye.
Hi.
Bye.